All right, we're gonna start with putting the oil pan on here. Just got the timing cover on. Got a few things laid out here. We do have to put some RTV between this cover and the block. That way the three can be sealed together. So a little bit of RTV in the corner there, a little bit there. Same thing along the back here, this rear main seal. There's this gap between these two surfaces here. And we want to make sure we get just a little bit of RTV just right at that gap there, right at that transition. Doesn't have to be a lot, just has to be a little. Oil pan only goes on one way because you've got the hole for the dipstick going through there. So that should be an indication of which way that goes. And this backside here has studs, so we know that that goes on right there. And then this side just kind of gets pushed in place and tucked inside the bottom of that tiny cover there. So we know that's good. Our oil pan. Okay, that's on. We can start putting some bolts in and start tightening up. The key with tightening down anything, especially like an oil pan where it has lots of bolts or an intake, this has 18 holes in it. So it's really, really key that you get them all lined up first before you start tightening things. Because if you just tighten up one side, it's going to kind of rock it and you'll never get the other side in. It will never happen. So you got to make sure you get a few started here and there. Once you get a few started, you can kind of tighten those down and that will allow the rest of them to kind of be tightened down as well. And again, these engines got some weird things like some of the head of the bolts are different sizes, some of them are different lengths, so we got some of that going on. That's just kind of some craziness because of the just because of being a school. Some students lose some bolts here and there, and then we have to find some new ones to use, and so then we have different head sizes. We don't have original ones, and just kind of some craziness that goes on. But if you were actually doing this for a customer or on a vehicle where you had all the original parts that came off, it would be a lot easier. You wouldn't be searching for parts. You wouldn't have random bolts. You wouldn't have different size bolts or anything like that. Looking like a couple of these bolts are too short here. You're going to have to tighten up a couple of these. Get the rest of these to go in. It may sound like I'm tightening that a lot, but I'm really not. That impact just does not have that much, doesn't apply that much force, which is a good thing. You don't want to over tighten the gasket. Over tighten the gasket, you'll split it. Now this one's a one-piece rubber, so it's one full piece. Other designs have where there's two rails long ways, and then they've got the two half moons that go in the front and rear. So it just kind of depends on the vehicle. This style, this one-piece style, is a little bit newer design for newer engines, and this is a Vortec engine, so it's 96 to 2000, somewhere in that area. So it's got a little bit of the newer technology stuff on it. And I feel like these hold a little bit better too. A little easier to put on. They're one piece instead of a four piece. The four piece, you have to put a couple extra spots of RTV on there just to make sure that you're covering all the spaces and the gaps so you don't have oil leak out. I've got 2 different torque wrenches here, just kind of to save time. The smaller bolts, the 14 bolts, the 7 to 7, those get torqued to 80 inch-pounds, and the 2 ends are a little bit bigger size bolt, so they get torqued to 120. So I got 2 different torque wrenches set up just because it's going to be way easier to do that. Swap back and forth instead of swap off the torque wrench. That was good. So remember, there's no torque sequence for this, but we're kind of starting at the middle and working our way outward. So there's 4 in the middle of this that I've done. Done those 2. We'll get this one here. Kind of work our way outward to the outside. You never want to start on one side and work your way the other way because you'll end up pinching it. You'll end up actually pulling the gasket and pulling the component, and then it won't want to seal properly. It's a shame none of these are going to get painted this year. Some of the groups took a lot of time to clean them up, get all the old paint off. So they're going to go into next semester looking a little rough. That's okay. Alright, got those done. We're going to go to the 4 ends here and do these at 120. So that just ensures that this oil pan really pushes that seal down and gets it sealed into the front cover there. If not, we'll leak oil. And that's usually the #1 spot where the engine will leak, is it'll seep right out of there. And a lot of times, it's because of the front timing covers. We don't use a gasket on the front timing cover, we use that RTV. Just because the gaskets don't seal, they're not very thick. And the timing cover when coming off, they get bent and twisted and all kinds of stuff. So it's just easier to use RTV. But in that instance, they don't seal. So a lot of times they get leaks around there. And they got missing bolts and all kinds of stuff too. Lots of stuff goes on there. Okay, oil pan is on. That means oil filter can go on, whatever that is. It's like an oil filter right there. It's about the right color. Hoping it's the right spot. It's on the same spot as the shelf there. We got those on there. Engine mounts can go on. We're basically going to put everything on the bottom side of this engine that we can before we roll it over. That way we don't have to roll it back over and, keep going top and bottom, top and bottom. To make it super easy, we'll get everything done on the bottom and then the top. So if you were actually building your engine, it wouldn't really matter, right? Because you're going to do things in the order that makes most sense to wherever step you're at. You might have already dug your cylinder heads and have them bolted on because that was the stage you had. Maybe you're waiting on an oil pan in the mail. Who knows? But we'll be able to get this plate on here. It'll put the starter on. Definitely want to put the flex plate on as well. Again, not sealing anything, no torque spec. It's kind of snug. Okay. Let's see. Put on the starter here. There's the starter. Probably want to put the flex plate on first, just because it'll interfere there with the starter. Not finding a flex plate though. don't see a flex plate at all. So we're gonna just bypass the flex plate for now. When I end up finding it, I will put it on. If I can't find it, I'll have to order a new one for it. Seems like a pretty big part to just kind of walk away though. To walk off and never be seen from again. My guess is it will pop up. You'll notice the big amount of washers on here too. We don't have the right length of bolts. Just kind of something we're using through what we have, so we just utilize the washers on those. This group does have their little gasket for that, which is good. Most groups lose that, rip it, gets destroyed. But the bolts are in here for it as well, which is good, right along with the plate. Again, this group they were able to keep their stuff very well organized. And however, that did slow them down a little bit. You can't be too organized. Okay. Now that that's on, let's look into a harmonic balancer here. So here's our tool, kind of a funky tool. Hard for the students to use because it has the two components that go together. This one's universal, so this is designed to be the right size to go into here. And then for other engines, this is a universal tool. It has different adapters. But the students will end up breaking them. They'll end up bottoming it out too much, and we may have to order new parts and new things. So harmonic balancer just goes on there, right? This then threads into that adapter. And you could hit this on with a dead blow or a plastic hammer or something like that or whatever, but this tool is really the way to go. So get it fully in there, then you turn it a full revolution back because we don't want to lock those two components together. You got the bearing that goes up against there. You got the nut that spins up against the bearing. With a 9/16 we hold this, and with an 1 5/16 we spin the nut. And what that does is it holds this in place with the crankshaft, and this nut spins in and slowly pushes that harmonic balancer in to its desired location there. That's it, that's tight. So from the big wrench, starts to overpower the small wrench, call it quits, you're done. Loosen the nut up, spin the tool out, and then it's on, you're good to go. And then when you spin this out, the adapter will come with it. Enough for you to grab a hold on to and pull it back out. So, and then we could look here at the front with the timing cover on the groove, and it would show us the depth is correct. It's not going to show you that though, but it is correct. So basically, harmonic balancer, we went in there and stopped. Can't go any tighter. Got a pulley that can go on. We got a harmonic balancer bolt that'll thread in there and tighten up. Along with that bolt, there are 3 other bolts that hold this pulley on. believe that's a 5/8. The middle one is 9/16. Okay, looks like everything is on the bottom there. I'm gonna go ahead and roll it over and start working on the top side with the heads.